Hello and welcome. I'm Chamaka J. Uwadoka and this is Africa in 10 minutes, where we bring to you the trending business news as reported on Footprint Africa. On the headlines, Ghana's railway project attracts 230 investors. Libya's biggest oil field resumes production after a temporary shutdown. Footprint Africa publishes cultural tourism and its potential for economic growth and sustainable development in Nigeria. And now the news in detail. Over 230 investors across the world have expressed interest in partnering Ghana to revamp and expand its ailing railway sector, which includes the development of new lines that could include the North-South line, conceived in the 1950s but which has been left on the drawing board. The investors are aiming to get a stake in the country's railway sector master plan, which the Ghana Railway Development Authority (GRDA) estimates its full implementation to cost the country about $21.5 billion. The amount is needed to procure new coaches, refurbish existing lines, and construct additional 4,007.6 kilometers of railway lines across the country. Because the government at the moment does not have the funds required for the full implementation of the master plan, the Chief Executive Officer of GRDA, Mr. Richard Dombo, said the authority had decided to market the plan in bids to attract investors under a build, own, operate, and transfer arrangement. Although the authority had not yet put out any tenders or any publications inviting interest, it had received what is termed unsolicited bids from more than 230 investors willing to take part in the revamping of the sector. Mr. Dombo said the bids came from individuals, groups, and banks across the globe. In other news, the Sahara oil field in Libya, which has been producing over 250,000 barrels of oil per day, has resumed pumping after a few days of being shut down following an alleged attack by gunmen. An engineer had confirmed the gradual shutdown of the field to Reuters after revealing its control room had been closed since last weekend. The engineer did not give details of why the control room had closed, but posts by oil workers on Facebook said it had been stormed by an armed group. Libya has been exempted from an OPEC-led push to cut global production and bolster oil prices, and the recovery of the North African countries' outputs over the past year has complicated the bloc's efforts to curb global supply. A Libyan oil source who confirmed Sahara was being shut down said supplies of gasoline and jet fuel from Zawiya, a city in the north which is home to an export terminal and a refinery, had also been halted. Moving on, in a post published by Footprint Africa, Martins Aduku urges the Nigerian government to consider cultural tourism as a means of generating revenue and diversifying the economy. In the post titled Cultural Tourism and its Potential for Economic Growth and Sustainable Development in Nigeria, Aduku asserts that the rich and diverse Nigerian cultural heritage can be harnessed to reach its economic potential, attain sustainable growth and development, as well as create jobs. He said the Nigerian cultural festivals can also generate income for investors who are able to harness the unending economic potentials in them. Festivals are times when local businesses thrive on accommodation, security provision, production of souvenirs, flyers, transportation, and of course material production of cultural artifacts. It is imperative to note that cultures, in as much as it shocks the sensitivity of the outsider, it also creates an appealing appetite which pushes the reveler to uncloud the mystic components of every cultural heritage. This article is available via www.footprinttoafrica.com and is accessible to all users. Footprint Africa also published another article written by her MD CEO Osita Oparugo titled Agriculture, Africa's Glory. In this post that many consider an open letter to governments and policymakers in Africa, Oparugo calls for proper strategic roadmaps to be drawn and implemented for the African continent to realize her full potential in the agricultural sector. He said agriculture in Africa has the potential to generate over $1 trillion, and a shift to agriculture and agribusiness could end Africa's poverty. An excerpt from the article reads, Africa does not need foreign aid to attain self-sufficiency, rather strategic investments in agribusiness. There is great potential for exports of agricultural produce from this continent at a time like this, when demand of agricultural produce is high world over and will remain high due to urbanization, land degradation, high cost of labor, slowdown in research spending, water scarcity, and changing climate. The increasing benefits of agriculture and agribusiness are enormous, from job creation to higher income, and most importantly, it gives the various economies of Africa a fair chance to compete globally and reduce pressure on their local currencies. This article is also available exclusively on the Footprint Africa website and is accessible to all users. In energy news, Uganda has confirmed that an agreement is in place with General Electric for the construction of the country's first oil refinery. Government geologists estimate Uganda's oil reserves at 6.5 billion barrels, of which 1.4 to 1.7 billion are considered recoverable, according to reports by Reuters. The oil is due to start flowing in 2020, and the government is keen to build a refinery to process it and retain a larger slice of profits. Uganda suffered a setback last year in its efforts to secure a lead investor for a refinery project then estimated at $2.5 billion after talks with Russia's RT Global Resources broke down. In investment news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has disclosed that the 4 major investments it recently embarked on with key upstream joint venture partners are capable of providing incremental revenue to the national treasury by over $30 billion within the next 10 years. Group Managing Director of the corporation, Dr. Mekanti Baru, said the investments, which attracted a haul of close to $3.8 billion in foreign direct investments, will serve as a vehicle to fast-track the prevailing post-cash call exit era. Dr. Baru commended the NNPC finance and technical teams for being able to attract the much-needed foreign investment at a period when it has become increasingly difficult to attract foreign credit facilities. He said these 4 projects alone are going to raise incremental revenues to Nigeria of over $30 billion over the life of the project in less than 10 years. They will also serve as part of the vehicle for exiting JV cash calls. In tech news, leading IT and system integration company Jethro, with a clientele that includes some of the world's largest financial institutions, has been launched in Ghana as part of its Africa expansion drive. The company focuses mainly on IT innovations in the financial sector and the world of analytics aimed at digitally transforming banking and financial transactions. Remi Babatunde, Chief Executive Officer Jethro, said, "Our presence in Zimbabwe, Kenya, Nigeria and now Ghana is a testimony to our drive to be closer to our clients as well as reduce the cost of our engagement." And finally this week, Saudi Arabian Prince Al-Walid bin Talal is reportedly set to invest about $800 million to expand the Four Seasons Resort in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. The deal is in partnership with Talat Mustafa Holding Group, Egypt's investment minister Saha Nasir told Reuters. Billionaire Al-Walid's investments will also include establishing 2 new hotels in Al Amin, a town on Egypt's Mediterranean coast, and Madinati, a residential compound east of Cairo, Nasir said in a statement. Al-Walid owns about 40 hotels and resorts in Egypt, in addition to 18 others that are still under construction. That concludes the news of the week. Please stay tuned for a recap of the stories. Ghana's railway project attracts 230 investors. Libya's biggest oil field resumes production after temporary shutdown. Footprint Africa publishes cultural tourism and its potential for economic growth and sustainable development in Nigeria, and Agriculture, Africa's Glory. Uganda agrees deal with General Electric for first refinery construction. Nigeria's national oil firm NNPC secures $3.8 billion foreign direct investment. IT giant Jethro enters Ghana. And Saudi prince to invest $800 million in Egypt's hospitality sector. To keep up with the trending business news in Africa, stay connected. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and connect with us on LinkedIn. This news and reports are called from Footprint Africa. For daily updates and more business news in Africa, log on to www.footprintafrica.com today. Footprint Africa, business news made in Africa by Africans.